One day I was scrolling through Xbox Game Pass with some friends while we were trying to find a small multiplayer game we could play together because we had exhausted the games we already had. And then I stumbled across an Xbox 360 game from 2009 titled Battlefield 1943. It was only 1 gigabyte and looked good enough to play with some friends, so we installed it with the impression it would just be us playing 1v1 in an empty multiplayer lobby. But when we loaded up the game, we found it had a decently sized multiplayer community and was still being played by plenty of people. And upon playing a few matches, I found myself getting hooked into the simple yet very entertaining gameplay. So in this video, I'll show you guys the most slept on but great Battlefield game, Battlefield 1943. When I said that this game is simple, it really is simple, with it only having 2 multiplayer game modes and no campaign to speak of. This is a multiplayer only game, so if you like story-driven games, this is not for you. The 2 game modes you can play are called Conquest and Air Superiority. Conquest is a domination type mode that takes place on a large map with 2 teams fighting for control over 5 objectives called capture points. Each team must hold these points in order to decrease the opposing team's health bar. It goes down faster the more objectives the team holds. The match ends when the team's health bar reaches 0. This game mode is very simple, but there are so many things you can do with it that make each game feel unique and is my preferred game mode out of the 2. The second game mode is Air Superiority, a simple game mode where teams of planes fight in the skies to capture zones of the map. This game mode is very simple and straightforward, so the rest of the video I'll just be mostly sticking to talking about Conquest and all of its features. So let's get into that. In Conquest, you must capture and control the 5 control points around the map as one of the 2 playable teams, with you either playing as a soldier of the United States Marine Corps or USMC, or as a soldier from the Imperial Japanese Navy or IJN. Each team has 3 shared classes of soldier to choose from: the Rifleman, the Infantry, or the Ranger, with each class having their own weapons and equipment. The Rifleman specializes in long and medium range damage and taking out enemy soldiers, armed with a long range rifle that is good at taking out enemies from any range, as well as a secondary rifle that fires grenades at enemies. This is good for taking out both enemies and vehicles, as well as opening pathways through fences and buildings. The Rifleman's equipment are a couple of frag grenades and a bayonet-fitted rifle to deal out melee damage at close range. The next, and my personal favorite class, is the Infantry class, which is specialized in closer combat as well as destroying vehicles. The Infantryman is armed with an SMG that lacks major range, but makes up for in fire rate, making close encounters a breeze because you can just mow down the enemy without even having to aim down sights in most cases. The infantry's secondary weapon is a rocket launcher that is very effective against tanks and other vehicles, with being one of the few things in the game capable of destroying tanks. The rocket launcher is fun to use at all ranges and it can be used point blank to annihilate enemies because it does not seem to deal any damage to the player firing the rocket, making it easy to just pull up the launcher when your SMG is out of ammo and destroy any player in front of you instantly. The infantry's equipment are once again frag grenades, and their melee weapon is a wrench for some reason. Not complaining, because all melee weapons are one shot, but this is still an odd choice, but I recently found out that the wrench can actually be used to repair vehicles that are broken if you hit the vehicle with the wrench, which is which is a cool feature. The third and final class in the game is the Scout, a class that specializes in sniping and demolition for some reason, because sniping and demolition are 2 things that always go together. The Scout's primary weapon is a bolt-action sniper rifle, a weapon that deals insane damage if you can line up shots, and also has just as insane range. I was able to get a headshot kill from across maps sometimes, and even get kills off the aircraft carrier spawn area in some maps, which took a large amount of patience and compensation from the bullet drop, a thing all weapons in the game have, but is really noticeable in the sniper rifle and the rocket launcher. The Scout's secondary weapon is a small pistol that is useful to deal with enemies who get too close to you, to use the rifle on them. The pistol deals average damage as an alright weapon, but also lacks range, making it really only useful in close combat. The Scout's equipment, and the reason why it's called a demolition class, are the 3 sticks of dynamite you can place on the ground and detonate remotely with the press of a button. You can have up to 3 charges out at once, and they deal a hefty amount of damage to anyone in the blast radius. And last but not least, the Scout's melee weapon is a freaking sword, with the American sniper using a basic blade and the Japanese Scout using a katana, because of course they're going to use a katana. All of these classes are very simple but can provide a lot of different playstyles through experimentation and time put into them, and they all work in tandem to make the battlefields of this game feel like a real lively war zone. Speaking of battlefields, another good thing about Battlefield 1943 are its maps, with there being 3 conquest maps: Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Wake Island. Each of these maps are different islands that the battles take place on, with each featuring unique landmarks and locations to fight in. The first map I played on was Guadalcanal, which is a pretty straightforward island map, with the 2 teams starting in bases on opposite sides of the map and then fighting for the capture points in between. The standout locations of this map are the capture points Ridge, Village, Fuel Depot, and Radio Bunker, with Ridge being a great lookout point for most of the map that is very fun to both attack and defend, with being on top of a hill with 2 possible ways up, making it hard but fun to take it with enemies firing down at you. Village is a larger point located in front of Ridge with multiple buildings and a direct route up to Ridge, making it ideal to run and capture Ridge right after Village or vice versa. Fuel Depot and Radio Bunker are both smaller capture points that feature a single building, but both also include an anti-air gun atop the buildings, giving players a weapon to take out approaching enemy aircraft. And since these 2 capture points are on the opposite sides of the map, each team realistically has a way to take down opposing planes. The next map in Battlefield 1943 is Iwo Jima, a slightly larger straightforward island map with a large mountain on one side. For this map, the teams spawn on aircraft carriers on opposite sides of the island, with them either having to use planes or boats to get to the mainland. Each aircraft carrier is also equipped with an anti-air gun to discourage enemy aircraft from getting to your team's spawn. Once you reach the mainland, there are once again 5 control points your team must capture and control, the most notable which being Airfield, Lighthouse, and Mount Suribahi. Airfield is a large area with multiple hangars and buildings, the wide open space being used for longer range engagements with soldiers or vehicles. Lighthouse is a much smaller area with a bunker building and lighthouse surrounded by trenches. The lighthouse can be climbed to gain access to a pretty good sniping spot, and the trenches can be used to take cover or surprise advancing forces. The most important capture point on the map is without a doubt Mount Suribahi, a huge mountain with a large area on top of multiple buildings, machine gun turrets, and an anti-air gun, giving any team that holds it a massive advantage over that side of the map, being able to snipe and gun down enemy soldiers and aircraft quite easily. It is also directly above another capture point, which gives the team holding the mountain a great amount of power over that capture point, allowing them to easily capture the point or just ruthlessly attack the team occupying the point. Overall, Iwo Jima is my favorite map in the game, and I always have fun when playing it. The third and final conquest map in the game is Wake Island, a crescent-shaped island with many small villages and an airfield. This is personally my least favorite map to play at the moment because it seems like it's the map with the least to do. You once again spawn on aircraft carriers and can use boats and planes to get to the main map. The only upside to this map is the level of accessibility you have with boats, with the map shape allowing for boats to get in the middle of the map very quickly, rather than just the sides with Iwo Jima. But other than this accessibility, the map doesn't really have that much to offer. It's just kind of a very plain map, and that's why it's my least favorite personally. But overall, these 3 maps of conquest are different enough to feel entertaining to play on, with each having their own strengths and weaknesses as well as unique features for most. They also feel big, but not too big, making it easy to run from one end of the map to the other without it feeling tiring. But if you want to get across the map even faster, that's where the game's vehicles come in. Battlefield 1943 has 4 vehicles to choose from, each one with its own strengths and weaknesses. You have the Army Jeep, the tank, the fighter jet, and the boat. The Army Jeep is a small car that has the fastest movement speed of the 2 ground vehicles. It can sit 3 soldiers and 1 gunner, as the Jeep has a machine gun turret placed on the back of it. This is useful for drive-by blasting or staying in one spot as a turret to defend objectives. The only problem is that all the occupants of the Jeep are pretty exposed and can be killed rather easily while sitting still. But if the gun fails you, there is always the good old ram into an enemy at high speeds for an insta-kill. Overall, a nice enough vehicle with good speed, maneuverability, and combat capabilities. The next ground vehicle, and in my opinion, the best vehicle in the game, is the tank. A much slower vehicle than the Jeep, but it makes up for this in every other possible way. The tank is the most threatening vehicle in the game, and with so many different methods to obliterate any enemy that stands in its way. It has a large front gun that can fire explosive shells very long distances, being able to obliterate any soldier or vehicle pretty much instantly. The tank is also equipped with a machine gun that the driver can fire at enemies in front of the tank. And there is also a turret that a second player can use on top of the tank that has 360 degrees of motion, so it can fire anywhere around the tank. All these weapons on top of the tank itself being being very heavily armored, with the only things able to destroy it effectively being the infantry's rocket launcher and bombs dropped from planes. All these factors make the tank easily the best vehicle in the game. The next vehicle in the game is the plane, which in my opinion is the hardest vehicle to use, but has great value if used right. It is the only flying vehicle in the game, and is armed with double machine guns that can rip through any ground troops and other planes. It also has bombs that it can drop on enemies below as it flies over them. I have been obliterated by bombs like these so many times, but I've also been saved many times by an ally's well-placed bomb drop, with them destroying tanks and ground troops right when I needed them to. And if you find yourself in a sticky situation while flying in one of these things, just jump out and press a certain button to activate your parachute, and you will float down to the ground safely, assuming no one shoots you while you're falling down. The fourth and final vehicle in the game is the boat. A pretty useless vehicle in my opinion, as it is only found on 2 of the 3 maps and is only used to transport yourself and others from the aircraft carrier spawn to the main map. It can seat 4 players with 1 driving, 1 sitting, and 2 on machine gun turrets. These vehicles are only effective ways to travel by water, but other than that they do next to nothing. Overall, all the vehicles in Battlefield 1934 are unique enough to work and really contribute to the war setting of the game, while also adding different ways to play, from flying high in planes to causing mass destruction in tanks. The destruction itself being another reason I really like this game. The destruction and damage physics on the maps in this game are so damn cool and really make the maps feel like a living, changing war ground. All these maps start out pristine and mostly clean, but over the course of the match, they get more and more run down. This is from big details like grenades and rockets being able to blow open walls of buildings and destroy structures, to smaller details like bombs dropped from planes, leaving black craters in the ground where they landed. Areas like capture points often begin the match with sandbag barricades, but by halfway through the match, all these are often knocked down or blown away by bombs or vehicles. Maps also have small forested areas that troops can go through to avoid the main roads, but these trees can easily be toppled by vehicles running into and over them, or just destroyed by bombs. The destruction of buildings not only aid the visuals of the battlefield, they can also be used to affect gameplay, as barricades can be destroyed, giving your enemies less cover, or on some maps there are bridges that better help connect parts of the map. They can be destroyed by bombs, making it harder for troops and vehicles alike to traverse the map. Oftentimes, I would use my rocket launcher to blast holes through fences and buildings to open pathways to make the map more easily traversed by me and my teammates, as well as using my rocket launcher or tank to blow up bridges and buildings to hinder the enemy forces. This level of control I had over the map through destruction really made each game feel more unique to me, because the map just seemed different enough every match depending on what had been afflicted upon it by the battle, and that is just part of what made me keep coming back for more. Another thing that made me keep playing this game was the stamps you could earn within the game by fulfilling certain goals, like killing a certain amount of enemies with a certain weapon or capturing a certain amount of objectives. These stamps are earned every match if the requirements are met, but once they are earned for the first time, they stay in your inventory menu in the main menu forever. You can also level up through the ranks by playing the game and getting points, with each rank having bronze, silver, and gold of the rank you are currently on before you move to the next rank. This really makes you feel like you've gained experience in the game, and the further you are in the ranks. There are also a small amount of Xbox achievements you can obtain, with there only being 12 or so, which also makes you want to play the game a little bit more. All of these features really help the game's overall replayability and just make it that little bit more fun overall. In conclusion, Battlefield 1934 is a surprisingly fun-to-play shooter that is full of fun and unique classes and vehicles. Large and ever-changing maps that are effective by what the players do, fun to use weapons, and easy to get into gunplay, while also allowing the players to experiment with new and unique strategies, and the achievements and stamp system also encourage getting more time into the game. This game is so damn fun, and I recommend it to everyone who has Xbox Game Pass or just has money to spend on a dated but very fun multiplayer shooter. That has been my review and opinion on Battlefield 1934. If you liked the video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more reviews and other fun content. This has been another episode of Jim's Reviews. See you in the next video. Have a good day.